I wanted to take a break from teaching today, but when I thought about it later, even at the time of our death, we have to have the teaching too. And I thought I need to do a little practice, so I came out to do the teaching. So even if my voice is not very pleasant to hear, well, even I think even such a voice is not very easy to listen. So even if it's a little uncomfortable, please listen. Well, my nose is blocked, and so maybe it's charming at from one point of view. Well, the life, death, and sickness. There is truth that all living beings have. Although we go through life, death, and sickness, and we go through that phenomenon, but because of that, we should not have the pain from it. So even in front of death, you have to think that life and the birth and death is the same thing. Because we are alive, we also die, right? So just like the side of the palm and with the back of the palm, they work together. So if we get rid of the palm, then the back of the hand also disappears, and vice versa. And even from the electronic signals, if you have a plus, then even the minus gets formed together. And if there is no minus, then there will be no plus too. So rather than to say two of them coexist, they are one from the beginning. So even life and death is the same thing. Maybe it's totally different in the forms. And night and day is also one day is also the same day, but one side is a shadow and the other side is the light. And so even if there is a sun, even if it's a daytime, the shadow of the tree and people, we can see them. And just like that, it doesn't mean because there's night, it's night, the day disappears. And also just because it's a nighttime, it's because also it's a daytime, night disappears. So if you look at it like that, then even life itself, living itself, if we talk about it in opposite way, it's same as we are dying. And also when we say we are healthy, that is also same as we are ill. Even the sickness, it's also the sickness in the healthiness. Without healthiness, there cannot be sickness. So two of them, both of them, they're same. It's not that it's different. And so, although we do not say it's same, we say it is not different. Then if you may ask, what is the difference between the same and not different? Although they have two forms, well, if you say then the day and night should have the same form, but same and not different. We say it is not different. So externally, in the outer form, you might think they're different, but in reality, they are not different. If you ask if men and women are different, although maybe in the form they look different, but they are actually all humans, so they are not different. So you have to look at it that way, then there will be equality. And if you know this logic a little, then even the Muslims, well, it comes in news, right? The Saudi Arabia came to be like 78 years ago, and for the first time, female got the voting right. Before that, they didn't even have the voting right. But this time, the females, the women, they also got the voting rights, and also they also got the right to be elected, and few of them got elected. But even at the time of voting, they made a separate voting place for female and male, and also even at the time of when they're running the race, they could not come on stage together with the men to do the campaign. But in Buddhism, there never was a case that they saw men and women as two different beings. So even at the time of practice, they only spoke about the difference in the weight of the karma. And they have given a different recipe for the practice. Although there is such difference, there was no sense of discrimination as two different entities. So the logic of life, how it lives through Buddhism. Even this morning when I was drinking tea, I spoke about it. But if you go through Buddhism, if you learn about Buddhism deeply, and also if you do practice, then in this world, due to what reason, due to which cause, and due to which conditions, if they have came into being, you will come to know all of them. So actually in life, you have no problems. So why did it happen this way? And if I perform such kind of activity in future, what disadvantages will I have and what advantages will I have? We'll come to know all of them. That is teaching of Buddhism. And those, as per my opinion, the scientific studies, although there are so many, there are many scientists studying, Buddhism is already more deeply involved in it and also has proven more. So even about voidness, like Dr. Hopkins has spoken about it, about the Big Bang Theory, but it began from voidness. Even the scientist has not been able to understand them deeply. But Buddha has spoken about it 2,600 years ago, and Buddha has already thought about it, that it has arisen out of voidness without any property. He has spoken about it with evidence. It's not that it has been spoken about without any source of evidence. So if you know Buddhism, the more you know, your thoughts, your life, your everyday life, and also your opinions, they become more natural, and they will, and even in your opinion, the problems, you have answers to many problems. So studying Buddhism, you should be very proud of yourself when you're studying Buddhism. And try to understand more deeply, and also you try to have a better understanding, because there is no wrong theory. So far, many things written by our ancestors, none of them has been proven wrong. But the question is it a little more detailed or experimental, or is it more logical at the time of proving the theory? But other than that, there are not much problems. So you should feel grateful about studying Buddhism, and please study harder each day. Where we at? Through observation, if you understand that the mind which recognizes is void, then you can also realize that the object of the mind or the heart is also void. So when we talk about the six parameters, when you talk about 6 parameters, what is the wisdom parameter? It is a parameter to it is a wisdom to understand the voidness. If you are not if you're not very clear, then you cannot understand it. For example, amongst the generosity, display, patience, diligence, meditative concentration, and wisdom, well, if you don't have the proper understanding, let's say, under the perception that there's Atman, and if we perform samatha, and at the time of samatha, we say you are at the truthfulness, but if you enter into truthfulness under the notion that there is Atman, then it is wrong understanding. Even in Taoism, if you say the era or phase of vain is the time that you have become a saint, then it is also the wrong understanding. You need to have the proper perception and then understanding, and then you need to observe the voidness properly, and the energy to the observe or the voidness itself is the wisdom parameter. Then your greatness will disappear. There is no point of time that which you say, well, every greatness or every greatness arises from the notion that I exist and everything starts from me. So when we say Buddha is performing samatha and vipassana, when we say vipassana, it means Buddha has it's been performing the wisdom parameter. So all the parameters, the 600 sutras written about prana, they spoke about the voidness. Well, I can understand it deeply. Then what are you going to do with due to other sentient beings with basis of the parameters? Well, the ways which is shown how to save all sentient beings, that is the sutra of showing the way. And then depending on karmas of all other sentient beings, they have shown the teaching and also led the way. That's almost like a lotus, and it doesn't get colored just like lotus, and it leads the way. And since it's like a lotus, well, that talks about the bodhisattva and also compassion in Lotus Sutra, and as a metaphor, the explanation is given. But if voidness has not been its basis, and if prana has not been its basis, then you cannot save others. Saving others, before that, saving others, the level is only like giving food to hungry people or buying a clothes to those who doesn't have them. And also, you are expecting something in return. That's why it is not possible to offer or donate without expecting anything. It's a very important thing. So the mind itself, through the observation, the mind itself, in the samatha practice, when we say we have achieved the samatha, it means even the mind itself doesn't have any kind of eternal property. So even though our heart or mind itself doesn't have its own property or its own sentiments, but we pretend to think that it has something else. So that's how my mind works, that's how I feel. You give different meanings. Sit on the cushion. Did both of you go to salon? So the place of mind, which is void. Even the hurt or our feelings itself is just a phenomenon that arises from the phenomenon, but it doesn't have its own property. When we see something blue, what kind of feeling arises from you? Why are you not able to answer? You have something blue arising from your heart, isn't it? What happens when you see red? Well, knowing that it is red itself is red, like a red heart, isn't it? When I see something red, then I feel that it is red, and when I see something blue, we feel there is something blue. So that is our heart. But if our heart is fixed and if there's something that's eternal, then even if we see something red or something blue, all of them has to be the same. So when we say we do a practice in Buddhism, when we say we enter into voidness, it means because I like something blue, when I see something blue, we have attachments. But when you have that kind of hurt, if the hurt doesn't have voidness on its own, then something blue is just a phenomenon that arose when you saw something blue. It doesn't exist in reality. If it's something that exists in reality, then when you see something red after we see blue, then it shouldn't change, or it should, or two of them should have some kind of like both. We should be able to see both colors instead. But something blue. Even the object blue, if you ask if that has its own form, well, when we say the leaf is green, if there's a form or if there's something behind the green, it is not so. But because of certain property, only the green color is reflected. That's why we see only green color. So green color, it is not the actual property of the leaf. So even something blue doesn't have its own true nature, but it's a phenomenon. It is also a reality. So the object or my hurt, it is something that arose out of a counter reaction. And even when we say if the person is ugly or if the person is beautiful, itself is also something that arose just like that. Why is a person's name Minja and all of that? Even if we add all of them up, well, there is the mind which arose when I saw the Bodhisattva, but it doesn't have its own property, isn't it? Therefore, even the object that we see, or eye, or even this instrument called eyes, none of them have a property or true nature that doesn't change. Well, not only mankind or the grandfather or mankind comes and studies this, it would result in the same consequence. If there's an absolute creator, if the creator for a week built everything, that kind of saying should exist only in the legendary book. And also, you don't have those kind of legendary TV program. It was quite interesting when we in the olden times. But nowadays, when you talk about something like that, people say, "What kind of story is that?" The fox transformed, and that is something that we believe when we were ignorant in olden times. But nowadays, when you see the president or and even the Imansab, the chairperson of the parliament, he was a member of parliament for like 10 times, and he died at the age of 80 something. Well, it's true that he died. Well, it is just a sphere, or it's just like a trace or a trajectory of our life. It doesn't have so much meanings, or it doesn't have special meanings. It doesn't have much meaning. Before, there was a child, and I asked him, "What's your dream?" And the child said his dream is to become president. And I thought that boy would have a lot of difficulties. But if he's in any way becoming president and have problems, then I was hoping that he will become president who is helpful to others all. If you only doesn't show or your greediness or your stubbornness, then it doesn't help others. If you don't do that, then you become someone who is beneficial to others. You can also know that the object of mind is also void. Well, here we are all talking about vipassana. Did you leave your child home? At kindergarten? Coming back at 3? 5? Then you can go home late, slowly. If child is in the summer, you can bring them. So even the object is void, and even the instrument with which we see is also void. Here, void doesn't mean it is not existing. Well, they do exist, but they do exist. They do exist as which is dependent on the rising origination. Well, when I was watching the Buddhist television, I was very surprised. They said there is no cause and the effect law. If there is no, and they said there is no samsara. So if there is no enlightenment, then can you just live your life as per your convenience? Because we know the cause and the effect law so well, and also because we know that it is not it also arises from any causation. So we try not to commit sins. But the person said, if you gain enlightenment, there is no cause and effect because you are in the trueness. Well, the suchness or trueness itself is referring to the cause and effect. Well, if you pass on the voidness, well, even the dependent arising is cause and effect. It's the same word, in fact. And I was horrified. And also, someone said there's no samsara. There is samsara. They say samsara is something that exists in Brahmins, but in Buddhism we don't have samsara. Well, the 12 dependent arisings, they are the samsara. Although it is not a perfect example of samsara, but it is actually dealing with samsaras. If you are in the diamond state, you understand them completely. In the diamond vehicle, along with such knowledge, the practitioner has to practice the void yoga. Here, the void yoga here is not the voidness void, but something. There is nothing more. So excellence. When we say incomparable or unexcelled or supreme, it means there is nothing more. We say a Buddha is a supreme yogist, and yoga is a practitioner. And supreme here is also musang in Korean. But it's not someone who just sits in the lotus position, but spiritually, someone who is perfect or excellent or has gained nirvana. You understand? So by doing that, when you're in this study, the study that leads you to the level which all your acne has been cut down, that we call in Buddhism is a nirvana, and all other things before they are all pre-preparations. Well, but if you isn't it better than earning $20 million? Whether you become president or even if Obama gives you his position, if you do it for like 8 years, then you become like you age very soon. Like even Clinton, who was very young, he also aged a lot. But I don't think it is something that's very favorable to be in the position with a lot of power. I went up to get some tweaks, and if I was a little younger, then I would have jumped from the tree because it was not very high. Well, I was afraid that I might break my leg because I'm so heavy. So I tried to come down slowly, and I felt that it's very difficult thing to be in power and then come down from the power. It's also difficult to come down from tree, but imagine power is more difficult. So you should feel that it's very fortunate that you never been there. It's really fortunate. It's also high, and also I think there wouldn't be an opportunity for you, but you have to feel grateful that you never been there. And even if you go there months like us, if someone asks us to do something, we should say, "Oh, I don't think we are in the position to do that." I wonder if we are a little different from monks of nowadays. If you look at it in an ultimate term, then physical form and all the objects of consciousness or recognizable objects such as physical form, you have to include all of them and all the subordinate phenomena, and also the recognizing mind. The property of them are all void. In Diamond Sutra, we say
무주상보시 그러죠. 이게 주자가 뭐냐? 주자가 무엇이냐? 집착한 것 그런 뜻이에요. 집착한 것. 생각이나 마음이나 이게 행동이 거기에 머물러 있다 그러면
offering without any attachment is written in Diamond Sutra. If our heart is in the place where we donate, yes, I remember in the monastery Yongjang, in White Lotus, when we donated the diamond ring, was it your wedding ring, or was it something that your husband gave, or did you do it yourself? You got it as a present. Because there is no gem for the forehead of Buddha, so she ran and got the diamond from the ring, and she donated there. Each time you see it, don't you feel it's your ring? Well, you have done a great job. Having obsessions like this is mine, this is also something precious, or if you feel that this is something that someone precious gave it to me, or this is something that I need to have inevitably, it shouldn't happen. So even the person who gave it to you, in reality the person has emptied the person's heart and gave it to you. Even in the phenomenon, and even the object diamond, although we say it's diamond which lasts forever, it also is going to disappear one time. I am also a being who is going to disappear, and
역시 사라질 대상이고 자성이
even the person who gave it to you doesn't have any greediness, and the object is also going to disappear. And also
그게 사라질
if I'm also someone who doesn't have attachment and greediness, then there will be no trace for the object which has moved from here to there. You understand when I say there's no trace.
알겠죠? 흔적이 없다는 말을 알아듣겠죠?
Uh,
흔적이 없는 거 봐야
You might ask the question, the diamond ring was on the finger, but was moved to the Buddha's forehead. We are not talking about that, but
좋다 안 좋다
with the greediness, with the greediness and having the ring on your own, the attachment has disappeared.
사라졌다 그 얘기예요.
Is the teaching correct? Am I saying the correct thing?
도움이 맞아요?
If it's correct, you should say Amen.
그럼 아멘 해야지.
If I say, do you trust or do you believe?
믿습니까 그러면?
So all properties are void.
그래서 모두 자성이 모두 공하단 말이에요. 모두 공해.
If we can listen well and if we have proper understanding, such as we not even having attachment to children, well, living and meeting them is just a way of life.
그냥 살아가는 하나의 인연일 뿐이다. 그래서 내가 살아가는
Well,
인연일 뿐이라 그래서 여러분들
where you say you had children in your stomach for 1 year. Well, it is not inside your stomach, it's outside your stomach. I came to know this when I saw kangaroo.
그 내가 뭘 보고 알았냐면
Where kangaroos, they come out when they're this small, and they're brought up in the pocket.
빠르게 되면 나와가지고 이 바깥에 침낭에다 키우고
And when you see them,
애기 집에다
where
바깥에
they evolved like that, then even children, they are not brought up in the stomach but outside. And seems like
여러분하고 핏줄도 연결이 안 됐어. 해도 핏줄 연결 안 된 거야.
even the
비율감 비슷.
umbilical cord is not connected.
별로 그렇게 연결된 게 여러분하고
Well, so if you look at it, it's even less connected than your own finger.
보다도 연결이 덜 된 거야.
If your finger is being cut off, then you're not think of your child. You think of your finger and not your child.
아이고 내 손가락이야 그러지. 아이고 내 혜인아 그렇게 안 해.
Well, it's just a voidness that arose in relation to the cause and the effect, and also relations. You just have to know that deeply.
아니라 것을
You have to be able to understand this and observe this.
이걸 관찰할 수 있어야 돼.
If you do so, then you can hear the sound of greediness being cutting down, which is even louder than the rainfall in the monsoon.
그것도 위에 중천 정도 아는 도단집에
You can hear the sound of heavy rainfall in some of the houses. It's very loud. You can hear your greediness being cut down just like that, very loudly.
떨어지는 소리가 그렇게 늘린다.
So nowadays, when I see around, I wonder, there's something that even dogs do not take them away. Why do I like them? And even your body, when you look at this, if horses die or if cows die, then we have something left to eat. But this is not even something worthwhile to eat.
먹을 거라도 되지만 이거는 먹을
Well, if you bury our body, then you avoid this in cemetery. Well, these are actually people that who walked around with you and who moved around with you. But if you study deeply, then you can see that in Seoul City we have 1 million that body, where you get scared when you see skeletons, but we all have one skeleton each. We all have skeletons, don't we? Well, if you observe a little more deep, then you can know that easily. But you can understand we have not made proper observation, and we only try to live our life looking at the video that is shown in front of us. So you have to make sure that the greediness is cut down from you. It's almost like from a person who doesn't have appetite, you make them lose their willingness to eat. In order to enter into the state which we cannot discriminate, then it's important to have the complete or perfect analytical process. Well, here, the undiscriminative state refers to the state where we do not discriminate or classify. It's not that which classify men and women or darkness and light, but here it is having the discrimination for my likes or my decisions or something that is related to me. It means we enter into the sense of voidness, which means the attachment to myself disappear, and also even the targets. Although there is men and women discrimination between dark and brightness, evil and goodness, but despite having all of them, we do not discriminate because of that, because of those forces, which is also called unwavering state, that our mind does not move with the situation. Because it's good for me, I like it. Because it's not good for me, I don't like. We do not make that sort of discrimination. If the sense of classification becomes stronger, then we increase our own suffering. Well, I give a lot of examples in this. Isn't the dung dirty? Well, to the insect that eats it, what is it? To the maggot, it is food, it is house, it is their life. How is it dirty to the maggot? So, depending on the karma, we all make such differentiation. So, I'm not asking you to sit and eat the dung instead of your rice. Knowing which is rice and which is also a dung, knowing that too, we have to know it properly. So, to enter into the complete undiscriminated state, we have to have proper understanding of the logic, and also with the wisdom of discrimination. If you study all these subordinate objects, we cannot find anything. So if we have something we like and dislike, and we also have agony and ego, and with that state, if we start to discriminate or classify others, then we cannot say it's true form at all. So to a member of parliament, I said so once. They asked, what should they do, the opposition party? And I said, if you throw away the selfishness and and also the collective greatness, then you can survive. So the person asked, what should I ask Mr. Moon? Please, you have to think so that if you if you give up, well, if you give up to be the next president candidate, and if you want to support the country properly, that's possible. Or else, leave your state as the leader of the opposition party and help. But since you don't give up both, and also you are trying to be in control, it leads to and also because of that, people also think it is it's a collective problem. Then when the person also asked, well, it is also spoken in 손자병법 and General 이순신. You can only survive if you die. When we say you have to die to survive, well, these are the things spoken in Buddhism. If you let go of your greediness and your ego, then you can survive. So if we enter deeply into our study and also meditation, then people change. Was it you who spoke about this before? There are 7. It shows as 7 dead trees. There's 7 of them. But if you enter deeply into it, and if you don't show your ego, and if you enter samatha deeply, then you don't fall into other arguments. If there is rice, you eat, and you also do not raise questions like, why have you prepared food that way? But whatever is given to you, you eat without any complaints. But the saints also say a few things, because if you do like that, you also become unfortunate. So when the saints comment on things, that's not because they're angry. If you cannot discriminate, or if you cannot find out even that, then that's also a problem. That's completely different. When the aged people they complain, that's because they think it doesn't help them with their benefits. But the saints comment on it with a sense of compassion. If there is no compassion, then they would not even bother to talk about it. And saints, they do not comment on it because they find it uncomfortable, but they comment it for the benefit of others. Well, someone said before, when I came and spoke about this, well, is it necessary to prostrate 3 times before listening to teaching? I said that is not necessary. Well, sometimes I do quite a lot of performance, and I said it's okay. So when I poured the tea, I put the teacup upside down and poured it. And the person was saying that all the water is floating down, and I said yes, but it's the same. When your ego is so strong, can you listen? Can the teachings get into you? And only if you bow down, you can listen. Whose benefit is it? And the person say, it's my benefit. And to elders, getting the prostration, it's difficult and it is uncomfortable. We also don't have so much willingness to do it. And also, if you're not saying but receive it, they also think, they're getting it because they are quite good. If their heart develops that way, then it's very disadvantageous. So each time I make an observation, I say that well, you have to think that you're someone even lesser. But but if you think But when you listen to teachings, if you think I'm a great person, I let you so, because it's beneficial to you. I don't care if you think I'm very I'm not eligible.
내가 민자 씨가 아주 못생겼다고 얘기해도 저 양반이 안 탄할 그 정도 되니까 내가 얘기하지.
Well,
집에 가서 유언서를 말 못하고 집에 가서 꼭
well, Minja, because I know that she is at the level that she doesn't complain. Even if I tell her that she's ugly, I joke about it. You cannot also joke easily.
아무렇게나 못해.
Even the jokes you have to do to someone who doesn't have any havoc in the mind.
안 일으킬 만한 사람한테 하지 농담을 하지 그.
So, well,
예,
since I've lived up to now,
보니까
we began to think about how is my behavior going to help others, and my concentration keeps going there.
나는 자꾸 집중이 되죠.
If it's going to help the person, if I do this or do that.
이렇게 하면 좀 더 이익이 될까? 저렇게 하면 좀 더.
So prostrating 3 times, well, it's a benefit for you.
세 번을 하는 것은 본인들한테
But if you don't prostrate, but if you just stand with your neck just strong, then it doesn't help anyone,
뿌덕해가지고 니잘나는
isn't it?
그러고 앉았으면 그뭔 일이겠어, 그죠?
So in front of Buddha,
안 그래요?
if you come and say, Buddha, you are great, then it's beneficial to you. But Buddha never said he's a great being, because Buddha also has Atman. He only has done things which is beneficial to different sentient beings.
그렇게 노력하십니다.
So quite a lot of people think if they prostrate in front of Buddha, it's them who is being benefited, but it is not so. And also, I myself, I don't have anything special.
잘난 게 특수한
I cannot float. I cannot fly in the air, and I am not even good at wrestlings.
뭐 누구보다도 기밀보다도 박치가 센.
I am also. I don't have a special ability too.
뭐 내가 뭐 재주가 있어서
Well, I saw someone. Who had very strong hand, and that person could break off everything. I cannot do that.
안 돼. 김연아는 큰 날씨 돼가지고 스케이팅 하는데
And I also saw someone who is very good at skating, and I wonder how is it possible to do that? Because I was born in Name, and I tried to do it, but I couldn't do it. After 5 times I fell, I couldn't do it anymore. I cannot even sing well, and I cannot even dance well, and I also cannot drink well. So there's nothing special with me. There's nothing that I can show off.
먹는 사람도 아니고 뭐
Even the teaching, I'm not very good at it.
예? 이것도
I'm very bad at it because
이것도 나같이
someone like Changyang-guksa, when he was doing the teaching, the cows, about like 10,000 cows, came to listen in Hyungtong Monastery. They came to listen to the teachings, and how loud are they?
까마귀가
But they were silent while listening to the teaching, and after the teaching, they flew off.
이 법문을 때 있다가
Well, even the crows, they listened to the teaching. Imagine how true they were, and his tongue became the relics. And when his body was cremated, everything else burned, but his tongue, it did not burn.
다른 건 따뜻한데
Isn't it amazing? But we cannot even do something like that.
신기하잖아요, 그죠? 근데 우리는 그렇게 되지도 못해.
But if you say there's one thing, then we also try to do with our willingness. But there are also many times when you're lazy, and we also give many excuses and think if we can avoid it.
오늘 아침
Even this morning, we try to give excuses.
핑계를 대고 하지 마.
Well, but then it's winter, and so you cannot give other excuses. Well, should I not do the teaching today, saying my voice is not very proper, or because I have a throat problem? That was an excuse I was giving, but I came. I also cannot drive well.
태어난 구석에 한 개도 없어. 그렇다고 뭐
Well, I'm not good at many things.
운전도 못하지. 뭐 그런 게 없어. 컴퓨터도 못하지. 그런 게 없어.
So there's not real talents with me. Well, when I thought about it, I really don't have many things that I'm good at.
생각해 보니까 진짜 잘난 게.
I'm also not handsome like Richard Gere. Well, when I saw Richard Gere, he was very handsome. He's quite aged, but he doesn't even have a hot beer belly, and he came in his jeans, but he only looked like he's in 40s.
딱 입고 왔는데 딱 한 40대로밖에 안 보여. 응? 예. 예?
And
원력도 드라마 원력에 비하니까 이게 저 옛날 우리말 소분지 애시란 말이 있어. 아주
and also the power of aspiration. When I compare this to Dalai Lama, it is also very less. Well, it's not only that many people were touched with my teachings, but there are also people who has pressure. Well, when I listen to your teachings, we are not even able to practice, and so I don't want to come to teaching. And when they see me, they also run away. I've seen quite a lot of people who does that too.
저 가게 뒤로 숨어버리는 사람도 많아.
Where the height, well, I'm shorter than the basketball players.
저 뭐야 키는 그 누구야
One lady came and she was like 187, and she's a taller than me. There are so many people who are taller than me.
그렇게 큰 사람들도 키 크기로 따진다 그러면 나보다 키 큰 사람이 얼마나 많아.
In order to understand voidness properly, you need the proper point of view. Here, it means you need the proper understanding. Only with simply stopping the spiritual activity, you cannot completely understand voidness. This is something that has been repeatedly talked about. Also, just because you get away from the misunderstanding of self or Atman, we cannot say you have acquired the proper knowledge about voidness. It is also not possible only if we have the thought that I exist and there is voidness. You need to have the proper point of view and enter into samatha. And at the state of samatha, you have to have vipassana. And then slowly your attachments will disappear. Voidness is finally voidness can properly understood with the knowledge or wisdom that the mind that recognizes, and also the nature of the object of the mind that is actually understanding is ultimately absent. So I'm there, and also the object who also exists over there doesn't have self or doesn't have the property or nature that exists. So if we observe this properly, then attachments to any beings will disappear, and even if there is any thought which is about me, there will just be a phenomenon that arises instantly, but in reality there is nothing. And here the form is something that has the eternal nature, which doesn't exist. So even if we face death, if I am there as something that exists, then it's right to say that we die. Because if he existed before, then it's right to say we died. But with the relations, we gather, and this is again getting dispersed, and so there's no self-property. So it's also wrong to say we died. It's just that we are dispersing. So in Korean, saying death, I think it's better to say went back in Korean. We have two different ways of saying, which is died, 죽었다 and 돌아가셨다, which is went back. So this is also saying of Buddhism that the person went back. I like this very much. In Korean, we have so many different ways of saying. When we say the person has went to its original place, that person has died and also ended.
죽었습니다. 임종 마쳤습니다. 그냥 마침에 이르렀습니다.
And also left this world. And those people who doesn't like so much, they also say the person has died.
여기 한마디 붙어서 나와.
And also died well.
그다음에 잘 죽었습니다.
Well, the two last sayings are things which are actually emitting from deep down our body.
올라오는 소리야.
So wisdom, it is a bright knowledge which arises after proper analysis and proper discrimination. So when we say the wisdom paramita, it's a proper analysis, and proper analysis is two things. Before samatha, if you have the right perception, that's one, and after samatha, observation, making the observation.
뒤에는 관찰하는 거. 요 관찰기라고.
In Yottara thought, we say, due to samatha, we observe that all things that exist doesn't have true nature. Likewise, if you enter into the absence of self and selflessness of phenomenon, well, it is also same to the object, mental objects. In the selflessness of phenomenon,
정신적 대상, 다시 얘기해서 어떤 철학이나 이점
it also includes the attachment to object, but also to the psychological attachments. So to say Socrates has said something, but even in the philosophy, there is nothing that doesn't have anything that doesn't change. If you enter that truthness, everything. We realize that nothing. There's no difference between the things to think about and things to analyze. That's why. If we enter to both of them, the things that I see and things that I think about,
생각하는 것과
with the observation and the things that arise, which in my head, two of them are the same.
우리는 이제 관찰을 이렇게 얘기하는
So normally in the saying we say
거가 있잖아요.
it's all the same, but we actually share. We actually discriminate which is mine and which is yours, and we share them to halves, especially when we get divorced. So everything actually has soul or spirit here for us. But with the observation, when you talk about, we say, oh, well, that doesn't have its true nature. But then when you actually put it to practice, we cannot follow that.
실제 해보면 안 된단 말이야.
So we have to go through such practicing stages.
그쳐야 됩니다. 말 없이 한 곳에 집중하는 생각이 자연스럽게
Without words, putting yourself into practice at one position, you have to be able to put yourself into proper practice. So with the vipassana, whichever you see, whichever you listen, whichever you put into practice. For example, even if someone criticizes you, even the person who criticizes you, and also the voice that you hear, and also myself, we are all void. If you think so, then even the voice that which is void doesn't have its property, and so there's no reason for you to react to it. Things will change that way. If that happens, then you enter into the stage that you can see very well. Well, the person has done that because of which reason. The sound doesn't have its true nature. So because it doesn't have true nature, it just passed by my ear, but it doesn't have so much meaning. And likewise, you will be able to analyze them or organize them. So you have to practice the trueness, actual trueness, and then you can see everything as they are. You have to listen to this properly. In Lotus Sutra, it also said all the things, all the phenomena that you can see as how they are. Everything doesn't have on its form, and everything comes and goes with the relations. And you can see everything so truly. Because you can see them truly, there will be nothing that can cause any problems. I'm going to add another saying here. Whether it is human or life itself, actually, if we just remove ourselves, then everything that exists is true. Whether the chrysanthemum flower blossoms in autumn, there will be leaves falling down. Spring, there will be new flowers. If my greediness and if my stubbornness disappears, then not even a step away, there will be no heaven anywhere else than here. But with myself persisting with my stubbornness, we bring up arguments and we also suffer. So this world doesn't have agony actually. The trees will not cause any sufferings, earth will not, grasses will not. And even people, even if we try to end, we cannot end it. We cannot end our life sooner too, and we just live our life as per our relations and also things of our happenings, and we will go back to world. But then with the greatness, if we do something, well, the nature of life is that we go back to reality or we go back to nature. But then if we have greatness, we will cause sufferings and everything will face difficulty. You understand? So something called practice. Well, it is just a method to get rid of our self, but there is no teaching with which we have to be obsessed about. It is just a method to get rid of our attachment. So all teachings of Buddha are prescriptions as a prescriptions. So Buddha has spoken the reality as it is and what causes our suffering, and the reason or causes for all the suffering lies from the fact that we emphasize that I exist. And even when all the religions happen in this world, everything has reality, everything has self, and this is just a phenomenon that arises because of that reason. But if we let go of that, then there is no heaven in some separate part of the world. It's not like that. You understand? So well, when you study or when you look at the 10 stories about Well,
여러분이
if your wish to save all sentient beings
중생을 위하고자
come into being, then that place becomes the heaven.
그러면 그거가 극락세계이고.
And when my agony disappears and my objection for self disappears, then even the sound of a bird chirping, you'll feel that it's a bird from the heaven because you'll not be angry from it. When the crows cry, some people say, "Oh, that's so unlucky bird, just beat that." Is the crow unfortunate or is that person unfortunate? That person has thought about something that is unfortunate. Well, the sound of crow crying is just the sound of the crow crying, and also sparrows is the same.
소리는 참새운 소리 보이죠?
Other than that, there cannot be anything else.
그 외에 다른 게 뭐가 있을 수가 없죠.
Buddha has also spoken about them. So through your practice,
여러분이
your agony, well, agonies are just that your greediness will disappear.
힘 사라지는 거야.
And when they disappear, then it is so comfortable.
힘 사라지고 나면 그렇게 편해.
Well, people told me not to talk about it, but
하도 얘기하지 말았지만
if you let go of your greediness to show pretty hair, then there's no reason for you to go to salon. And because monks, we don't have hair at all. We have bald it ourselves. That's why there's no reason for us to color or perm it too.
없어.
We can just live our life as we want.
그냥 살면 돼.
Should be a little chilly in winter. Well, if you look at the opposite side, then in autumn, people who use your brain a lot, for them is quite cool. Then the heart or the mind will become unwavering.
마음이 부동이란 말은 구례부동 명이불 그러잖아요, 그죠? 법성계. 그 옛날부터
When there is samatha and when mind doesn't budge,
사타가 일어나서 부동된 상태.
they call someone they call someone of the state Buddha. Then
명이불이야. 그러면 진열을
if the mind doesn't move from when mind doesn't sway as with you at the center, and if it disappears, if your greatness disappears, then the whole world from the beginning, you realize that it was like that from the beginning, and there is no separate form for it. But we ourselves, we try to manipulate.
조작하는 것이 있다.
If there is something that we manipulate, then it is.
없다 그러면 무의법. 아니 내가 만약에 이제 죽는다. 그것이 없으면
If there is nothing that we manipulate, then we can just die. Even if we try hard not to die, what can we do about it?
마중구리 바바에 우짤 거예요 지금.
Well, even if someone says, Venerable Regina, where are you going? To which side are you going? What can we say?
뭐라고?
What is there to come and go? There is nothing to say, we come and go.
갖고 온 것이 없지.
Mother, where are you going to? I'm going to your father.
그러니까
Even the answer is very not good to hear.
대답도 개떡 같아.
Even the answer is very unpleasant.
칼이도 안 들어간 개떡 같아. 그거 좀 밀기울만 갖고 만든 개떡 같아.
If you stay in the state, then you have to try not to distract the flow of your heart. Well, if you want to enter that state, then your heart should not sway. Just like the pendulum of the clock, your heart should not sway from one side to another.
하는 이 마음이 없어야 돼.
Will it be good if I do that, or will it be good if I do this? Your heart shouldn't become so.
서대는 가운데 있어.
Well, many different types of fish has different types of eyes, and so you should not become like the different eyes of those fishes.
이쪽으로 굴렸다, 저쪽으로 굴렸다, 고개를 가운데 했다.
You should not move from one side to another just like that. And before, when I said so, when I taught people like this, they said, well, they don't think about anything nowadays, and so the person opened the petrol pump, and the person became rich without even thinking about it. And I felt bad about it because they don't understand what I teach properly.
우리는 거듭하는 것이 딱 나를 두고.
We think if I should do that or not, if the person is handsome or or ugly. So for us, we always have things. That we choose as per our likes, and we always fight about it. There's a fight in the heart. In our heart, we always have conflicts.
다투면 마음 안에서 다툼이 일어난다.
And we also try to think of many different ways. And when you see a politician nowadays, you can hear their sound. You can hear the sound of them trying to find out good way for them. Even here, if they should go to Gwangju, Yeongdeungpo, Busan, or which place, it's amazing.
강주로 갈까요? 아주 굉장해.
Well, I don't think about going to many different places, but when I think of going to the bathroom when I want to pee, nothing.
없어. 예?
Living life simply and living life in a dumb way is different. If our obsession for self disappears, and if greediness disappears, then as per greediness we don't have it anymore. We become very simple.
없어요. 그냥 아주
And the way we see the world, we see them in a very clear way, so we know better.
간단히 다 보기 때문에
You can see everything to very detail.
아주 세밀하게 다 볼 수 있어요.
So I came to know about this in very detail.
세밀하게 알아진 것이
The things I don't know, I can know very, very well, very soon.
이거 모르는데
I know the fact that I don't know very soon. Amongst this time, if your heart becomes distracted with greediness, then you have to let go of the distraction, and you have to try to put your heart into a calm state once again. Well, when you have problems when you're studying, then we keep thinking about many different things, and you try to get yourself some other ways, and you also try to discriminate yourself. And also people who recite mantra, you should recite mantra, and depending on the many different types of practice, you have to concentration and practice without rest. So the essence of my self-changing lies at the fact that I don't take rest, but I keep practicing. You understand?
아시겠죠? 내가 뭐지?
Should I teach you a way to train or teach the kids when we have baby in the stomach?
애기 가졌을 때 절대
Do not have the thought of like a sway when you have a baby in the stomach. If I should this or that.
생각하지 말고.
Where the general Im Yeon, his mother, in summer, when she had him,
딱 여름에
She was lying under the tree, and a snake fell down from the tree.
위에서 뱀이 툭 떨어져 버렸어.
When the snake fell down, normally people would be so scared, and they will run away.
또 놀래가지고 기절을 촉.
But even the snake who fell, he should also be very scared. And the snake was looking around, and she saw for a long time. She stared at the snake, and she even came to know that snake is also very surprised. I have a very honorable human being in my stomach, and so just go slowly. And so she lied down and just saw the snake moving. And because the mother is so great like that, and General Im, even at the time of his birth, he did not even budge his eyes. And so that's why if the mother is great, if the father is great, even the child is great. Truthfully, there is nothing for us to scold the child, isn't it? Seems like you don't want to answer.
대답하기 싫은 것 같다.
There are no cases for us to scold children. We had the child in our stomach actually, and the child is born from it. And if the child does the wrong things, you say the child is just like his father. So recite mantras quietly, and if you practice samatha, then you will give so much peace even to children. When their brain cells are being formed, and if you give them external forces or conditions, they will come down, and the center of altruism will also actively be involved. It will be really great.
아주 좋은 공부.
I just wanted to do 30 minutes actually, but let's end today's teaching here. I also have some throat problem.
오늘 여기까지.